What's up, boys? Valentine here. I decided to make a guide on all of the fancy ways you can prepare yourself for a dungeon in Aion 2. I'll try to go through these as quickly as possible and just guide you through the most cost-effective versions and the most important versions to get yourself ready for progress. Generally speaking, it's actually not as expensive as you might expect, considering there's so many things. So you always want to be prepared when you're trying to progress, especially Transcendence here. Not this one. Transcendence, this is the place where you want to blow all your cash because progress here means everything. Progress in Transcendence means you get, what, 300 extra item levels, right? So you definitely want to prioritize that. And then on top of that, you want to progress through these to get uh, cards to farm, to upgrade, right? So it's not just about being able to clear it once. You gotta have the cash to go into Transcendence and clear multiple times. For example, even right now, I can't even upgrade this to full because I don't have enough cards to burn, right? So very important you are ready to farm Transcendence, which is the hardest version of dungeons in the game. And you don't just want to farm it, you want to get S ranks as well. So again, many reasons to blow your money here. And likewise, not so many reasons to blow your money on Conquest. Conquest is just to farm gold and gear. That's why you want to come here. You don't actually want to blow any money on this unless you're ready to clear it without wasting that much cash. So we're going to go in straight away, and I want to tell you guys the most important thing you can have. Many people don't even know this shit exists. So you be ahead of the curve with this one. Tea. Okay? You better have your motherfucking tea. There are so many times where I see people go into a dungeon and complain that they didn't have enough stamina to roll out of the fucking way. And the reason why you don't have enough stamina is because it's extremely cheap consumable. Extremely cheap. You can go anywhere, right? You can go anywhere. You get some Morpha. It's really cheap, really easy to get. It's a great item. And you get 50% extra natural stamina regen. Mind you, there is no stat that increases your stamina regen anyways, unless you put it on your gear, which you're not gonna, right? So having 50% extra stamina regen essentially means you have 50% extra stamina. You always want to have Morpha Tea on. If you have Morpha Tea, you're never gonna run out of stamina. This, it also gives you 110 natural HP regen. Many people underestimate that. It's actually a considerable amount of healing. So you always want to have this on. And you also have this as a little bit of a bonus. You got 250 HP, 125 MP, and more importantly, once again, 300 stamina. You want to have this. If you're progressing something or you're doing a conquest dungeon, you want to have the amount of stamina necessary to be able to clear the mechanics, right? Personally, I'd say just pick fruit salad instead of the meat. It's cheaper, it gives you block and defense, which will save you a lot more HP in the long run, and it also gives you 300 stamina. If we go into the market here, give me 1 second. Where the hell is it? This is just 800, right? So you can just buy this. So it's not a problem. You just go with the cheaper option. The next thing we want to talk about is power shards. Never blow power shards in anything besides Transcendence. Again, you don't want to blow anything that is valuable on your conquests. Conquest is there to farm. It's not progress of any sort. You just go in there to do many runs. You don't want your farming runs to be the place where you want to waste all of your white crystals, right? Let's be fucking honest here. So you want to have superior power shards ready for Transcendence. They cost you enhanced stones, so you just gotta craft them with the regular ones that you can buy from the shop, which you can buy from any general merchant or from your shop right here. If you have the subscription, you can just buy them from here at any point, right? That easy. And then you just want to make your golden shards for Transcendence. That's the place where you want to blow them. Since we're already here, hold on, this is way too noisy. Let's talk about the regular scrolls. Regular scrolls, they're extremely cheap. And you don't want to be the guy that died in a dungeon and now has to blow one of these, which is like 100,000 gold, because you didn't have enough HP, you didn't have enough combat speed to do your attacks and then roll out of the way fast enough, or you didn't have enough movement speed to just move out of the attack. You don't want to be the guy that didn't use his white scrolls and then got killed and now is 100,000 gold in the gutter. And mind you, these are capped, okay? So if we go back into the shop, of course you can buy as many as you want if you got real life fucking cash, because it's a pay to win trash game. But these right here, they're capped, okay? They are capped, so you are fucked up if you waste too many of these. You only get about 21 per week. Before it used to be 7. Like, this is a new change. It used to be only 7 a week, so you can imagine how painful that was. And you only get 7 at 100,000. You got to buy them at 200,000 if you want to get all of them. You don't want to be the guy that's millions of gold in gutter because you just died because you didn't use your scrolls. But that's for the white scrolls. Going into these scrolls, you do not want to waste these scrolls on conquests. These, once again, you cannot craft. Same thing as the white crystals. So you want to only blow these for special occasions. You want to blow these on Transcendence to progress your character in there as far as you can. That's about it for the scrolls, I'd say. You got different types of scrolls. You want to have all of them at hand. These are also very cheap. You can just put them on auto use during a dungeon and you just get a couple bits more HP. It's really not that big of a deal. They're on a 1 minute cooldown, so it's like you get 1,000 extra HP every 1 minute. Not a huge difference, but again, you don't want to be the motherfucker that just has wasted 100,000 or 200,000 gold because you died in a regular conquest dungeon. You do not want to be that guy. Let me see. Have I missed anything? Potions. Right. Potions, very important. Many people don't notice, but they heal a lot more than you might expect. So, I actually ran out of mine. Let me just go to the market here. No item registered for sale. That's kind of a bad thing to hear. So, potions, very important. There are 2 types of potions. There are the small potions that heal you for 1,500. These are good enough. They actually heal for a lot more than 1,500 because of all of the extra incoming healing buffs that you put on yourself and my buffs and your cleric's buffs and all of this other stuff. So they heal for a significant amount of HP. But these are the small cheap options that you can buy for 250 gold. There are bigger options for 3,000 HP. And again, these are multiplicative, so these probably heal me for like 4,500 each. And they proc pretty damn often, right? So you wanna make sure that you are prepared to use these on your Transcendence runs. As you can see, I'm gonna use this one here. So you can see it's much bigger than what it says on the tooltip. That's because of your titles and stuff. Let me just go here. You got your titles giving you, let me see if I can spot one. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. So all of the tiny titles that you brought up, they will increase the amount of health that you get from your potions. So potions are very valuable in this game. They're on their own timer for like 30 seconds. But life crystals are also very important. They're yet another bundle of 1,500 HP that you can proc at the same time. And you just get some extra healing. Now, these are not as common. The way you get them is you get them as a random drop from gathering plants. just a random drop. You want to have these as well, more healing. Again, you might think this is expensive. You do not want to be the guy who has to blow God knows how many hundreds of thousands of gold in white crystals because you don't want to buy life crystals, okay? You do not want to be that guy. And I'd say that's about it for consumables. With this, you should be ready to get into the dungeon. But let's also talk about team composition, because that is also very important. You gotta know, first and foremost, can you clear the dungeon? And that's something you can generally tell ahead of time just by your team composition. So let's go ahead and see team compositions here and how they work. So there are two main healers in this game, and you want to understand what each of them does, because one of them is a real healer and one of them is a get good healer. That's the way I describe it. Cleric is your generic healer class, okay? What it does is it heals you. That's its primary purpose. You go in there, it heals you, it has a revive, you can save yourself the white crystals, but the problem is, when you go into a raid with a cleric, you are operating with the damage of 3.5 people. That's the problem. You got 3.5 people doing DPS on the boss, which generally means in a DPS heavy check game like this one, this game needs you to do enough damage to the boss. If you have a cleric with you and you can clear the dungeon, you're not going to magically get extra damage. Doesn't matter how good you play, you're not going to be able to overcome all of the mechanics and play perfectly and make up for the fact that you're missing half a person's worth of damage because you're running with a cleric. So, with clerics, generally it's recommended that you have 300 extra item levels over the recommended entry requirement here. 300 extra item levels to clear it comfortably and pug it, and you never have to worry about lacking damage. The other version is you run with a Chanter. Chanter is the expensive Giga Chad option. Chanter is a dog shit healer, okay? You gotta understand that when you're going in. If you get hit by a mechanic that you should easily be able to roll out of, that's on you, and the Chanter's not gonna be able to save your ass because it doesn't have that sort of healing. What Chanter is good at is at massive AoE heals. I press one button. That's 5,000 heal plus 750 per tick, 4 ticks, right? That's about 8,000 healing for everyone in the party all at the same time. The other type of healing it does is 300 for every 1 second. This procs very often. It procs for 300. I know it says 200 there, but it procs about 300. And it's a lot of healing. Many people underestimate this, but it actually is quite a lot of healing. It adds up. Trust me. And it also increases incoming healing, which for a lot of classes, they have self-healing that you gotta use by hitting the boss, right? So you can make up for your own lack of healing by running with a Chanter by simply playing a class with self-healing, and then you get that amplified, but you gotta get good and be able to do the mechanics properly. But the most important part of the Chanter that you have to understand is this. It gives you 14% extra damage. Let's go with 15%, right? Round it up. And 15% extra defense. And 5% damage tolerance. What does this mean? Because of the way stats work in this game, basically defense is a static number. It's not a percentage like it is in other games. Defense is a very static number, and the more attack that you have over the amount of defense, that's how much damage you're gonna do. You're not gonna get that reduced by a percentage, you're getting reduced by a flat amount. And because of that, getting your attack increased by 15% is a far more significant amount of attack. So it usually goes to about 20-25% damage increase depending on the class. The more attack heavy your class is, like you got a Berserker, you got any other heavy hitting class, the more damage you're gonna get out of this buff. Very important to understand because of the way you want to put together your team. So, With a chanter group, you can clear about 100 item levels sooner, but you gotta get good. You can't get hit by mechanics as often as you would with a cleric, and you're not gonna get saved. If you get too much damage because you can't do the mechanics properly, you're just gonna die, right? That's bottom line. But people like to run with a chanter because it's far better to know that you can just blow your white crystals and you're gonna clear the raid and you're gonna get the S in time than run with a cleric. You're still gonna die, you're gonna clear slower, you're gonna clear all the way to the end, and then you realize that you cleared for nothing because you can't beat the dungeon in time, and you're gonna just, your raid's just gonna get wiped because you don't have enough damage, and that's the end of your run, right? In Transcendence, you run with a chanter, not because it has enough healing, but because at least with a chanter, if you play it properly, if you play it well, you can clear the fucking raid at S rank. That's why people like chanters. People like clerics because it's much safer, right? So two very different archetypes of healing. I fucking love this choice. I think it's one of the best choices that Aion 2 developers have made for healing. It's like you got one big dick class for damage and one for safe clearing. And you gotta understand that before you go into the dungeon. Now let's talk about the actual DPS classes. Regarding the DPS classes, all you gotta understand is that Summoner is completely broken if you can run with 3 Summoners. And I'm not even kidding. If you can run 1 Chanter, for example, and 3 Summoners, easiest raid of your fucking life. Because they're just gonna self-heal, you don't need to worry about their healing. They got enough damage, and if they use their Earth Spirit rotation, they tank better than the fucking tanks. Because what's better than just not taking damage in the first place? Like a tank, it has all the extra defense, and the positioning, and all of this extra utility. Summoner just skips the mechanic entirely. They just don't take damage in the first place. They can make the boss throw the mechanic that would do damage to the whole raid in a random direction, and you just don't take damage. It's fucking ridiculous. Summoner's completely broken as a class. And on top of that, because of the recent buffs, it's also the highest damage dealing class. So if you can get a Summoner, definitely get a Summoner. Another very good class to keep in mind, obviously you have your tanks. Tanks are very important, very useful. If you can run with a tank, run with a tank, but they are not necessary. You gotta understand that as well. It's not necessary that you run with a tank. You can go with a barbarian. It works just as well. Even though the barbarian itself is not going to do as much damage, it'll do enough and more than the tank. So, in a DPS check game, it's good enough. You can just run with the barbarian. What else is there? Oh yeah, anti-synergies. One very important anti-synergy that I want to just throw out there before I end the video. Do not play Sorcerer and Chanter in the same group. You are gonna pull your hair out. If you're a Sorcerer, you're gonna say, oh, Chanter has no healing, I can't clear the raid. As a Sorc, you're stun locking yourself, you're gonna get hit by more mechanics, and just generally, because of the way that my healing works anyways, right, like you got this as a good steady source of healing, you don't do enough hits to get enough healing from my buff, right? So it's kind of a bad thing about Sorcerer. It just doesn't work as well as any of the other classes with Chanter. But if you go with any other class, it works perfectly. You're never gonna have any problems. With Sorcerer, you're handicapped. Get a Cleric. Don't play with Chanters. My personal recommendation. Same thing with Chanters. You're gonna sit there with a fucking Sorcerer in your group and wonder why the fucker keeps dying every 2 seconds and stun locking themselves. And then it's like a back and forth. The Sorcs bitch that they don't get enough healing. You say get good, but they're incapable of doing that because they gotta sit there and chant for 10 fucking years, and they need a cleric to support them through that process. So it just doesn't work. It's a very bad thing to run. It's just go with someone else. There's enough ranger players out there fucking spamming that dogshit class to fill the spot of a sorcerer. Just don't fucking play these two in the same group. It's like hell on earth to play with one another. And yeah, that's basically it. That's a simple guide on how to get yourself ready for the dungeon and know whether or not you're gonna clear it and know what consumables to bring for each type of content. One last thing, again, one very last thing. For the endgame expeditions, the conquests, you got Fire Temple and Ferocious Horn. It is insanely easier to do these two with a Chanter in your group because of the movement speed buff. So in these two, there are two mechanics that you gotta keep in mind. For Fire Temple, there are the fire walls. A lot of people say that it's impossible to clear because of the latency. It's impossible to clear because you don't have enough movement speed. So the game is designed for you to always have a speed scroll on. If you don't have a speed scroll on, you can clear it anyways. No matter how well you run, you're not going to clear that fucking firewall without taking damage. But for the slower classes, you're going to take damage anyways. That's where Chanter comes in. You take this Sigma skill. That's 12% extra movement speed for everybody in the raid on top of the speed scroll. And you can very easily, even with lag and VPNs and all of the other Western shit that you have to put up with, even with all of that, you can safely clear the firewalls for Fire Temple. And same thing with the other one, Ferocious Horn. For this one, the way the mechanic works is the boss will randomly select someone. It'll jump up, summon a blue ghost. Someone from your raid has to run and protect the player that's stuck from the blue ghost by sitting between them. Right? And a blue ghost is going to run towards the stuck player, and someone has to stand in between them and block the blue ghost. You need enough movement speed to get to the blue ghost ahead of time and protect that player. Otherwise, they're just going to get one shot. And that's the way the mechanic works. And once again, the movement speed buff just makes everything easier. Right? Of course, you can position properly, but if you're pugging like me, if you're a scrub with no party, you're gonna have to get the movement speed buffs. It's very important and very, very nice to get. Likewise, we gotta talk about investment. If you're a free-to-play player, don't play Cleric. I know it sounds attractive, but the reality is if you play with a Cleric, you're gonna have to make up for all the damage that you're lacking by having gear. And gear is expensive. Gear is really expensive. So in reality, the free-to-play option is running with a Chanter because you don't need all that extra gear to run the dungeon. And yeah, that's basically it. Now you have all the knowledge you need to get into the fucking dungeons and clear everything. Small recap. Chanter for cheap early entries. Cleric for late game farming. That's the way it works. That's the way the game's designed. Keep that in mind and you'll be able to clear any dungeon with no problems whatsoever. I wish you guys good luck in your fucking farming, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me know if you need any guides on anything, or if you want to see how to do a certain dungeon, anything of that sort. I'm happy to help. Just let me know in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time.